Hi, I feel like I should introduce myself. I'm Fleur, I'm 23 years old, I am from the Netherlands, and I'm currently 7 months into recovery from burnout. I'm going to share with you my full story from the first signs to what it's like, how I'm doing, what's helping me, what happened in the meantime. Because if there's one thing that I believe in, it's the power of vulnerability and sharing stories, and I just hope that this may be helpful to anyone who might need it. If you watch my ASMR content on YouTube or follow my music, this could be somewhat insightful. Also, as a reminder that social media isn't real, what you're seeing is not real life, and there's a lot going on in people's lives that you probably don't know a whole lot about, and not everything is always rainbows and sunshine, but also everything gets better, and everything always changes. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. I'll say right away that I'm really scared and nervous, but I'm also really proud and excited to share this, so it's gonna be a bit of a roller coaster, but I'll try to be as structured as I can be in my current state. I also want to give a little bit of a trigger warning. I'm going to be talking about severe stress and physical symptoms that come along with stress and anxiety. If that's something that makes you feel anxious or makes you feel uncomfortable, please don't watch this video. Take care of yourself, and if you do really worry about your own health, please contact a physician. I am not a mental health professional, and I'm not claiming to be, so please take everything I say with a pinch of salt, because what worked for me might not work for everyone. If you are currently at home in a burnout, I would suggest not watching this video in one go, because it's a lot of information to process probably. At least that's what I find. Go at your own pace, come back to it whenever you can and want to. And also, my experience with my burnout is not everyone else's experience. Everyone's experience is unique to their own life and to their own body, and every body is different and deals with things differently, so please try not to compare your situation to my situation. I personally find that really hard to do. I'm not here to represent everyone with a burnout, I'm just telling you my experience. But I found hearing other people's stories really helpful and made me feel a lot less alone. Know that this is coming from a place of love, and I wish you really well, and I hope for you that you'll never get into this situation, and if you are in this situation, I hope that you'll get out of it and fully recover and take your time recovering, because if there's one thing that this needs, it's time. So to tell this properly, I thought it would be best to start with the definition of burnout. Burnout is a phrase that is often used very differently in English language than it is in Dutch language. I think that the bottom line is that feeling burnt out and having a burnout are two very different things, and what I'm currently dealing with is having a burnout. So I'm going to read this off the screen. I also have my notes here that I'll be referring to often because it's scrambled. Burnout is a state of emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion that is typically caused by prolonged or excessive stress, particularly in the context of work or caregiving responsibilities. It is characterized by a sense of feeling overwhelmed, depleted, and unable to meet the demands placed upon oneself. Burnout often occurs when individuals experience chronic stress without adequate rest or support. It can manifest in various ways, including physical symptoms like fatigue, insomnia, headaches, emotional symptoms, irritability, cynicism, apathy, crying a lot, and cognitive symptoms, difficulty concentrating, decreased productivity, and motivation. Burnout can affect not only work performance, but also overall well-being and quality of life. It's important to note that burnout is distinct from occasional stress. It is a chronic and persistent condition that often requires intentional efforts to recover and prevents its recurrence. I've been to therapy in this whole process, and if I can explain it really simply, it's just that I've been so stressed for so long. If you have a traffic light, you have a green, an orange, and a red light, and I'm kind of always on orange. I'm always on edge, and that caught up with me. So I can give you a little bit of a lifestyle rundown just to give you a sense of what my life looked like before this happened, and I'll slowly talk you through all the symptoms that I experienced and when it really went downhill. I lived in a city in a student home with 9 roommates, so there were 10 of us in the house. I was writing my thesis on sexual assault awareness with another student, luckily, and I worked as a youth worker, which is kind of social work. And I had an active social life. I make music, I love hanging out with people, and there were a lot of things I wanted to do. I also often went home to my parents on the weekends and had things going on at home as well. Now, a year ago, I would say some issues started to occur for me. I had food poisoning. This is going to sound really random, but bear with me. I had food poisoning once. After that, I felt like my stomach just wasn't functioning properly anymore. I had severe nausea issues, which was really difficult because I also have emetophobia, and that caused a lot of panic attacks and anxiety. I won't get into any of that in detail because it's besides the point, but it is something that is a factor in how I was feeling and the stress that caused. So I went to therapy because I thought that it was a mental cause. I thought that I was making things up and the nausea was a stress reaction. I'm also a high sensitive person, so I'm generally sensitive to stress in that sense. I'll always get nauseous. Me and my therapist were figuring out all these things. I did exposure therapy and it just wasn't working. I would wake up in the middle of the night and it would just be dramatic, and I started feeling very tired and anxious and insecure and demotivated from that alone. On top of that, I was writing a thesis about a very serious subject and I was very passionate about it. I had also just started working. It was go, go, go. The schedule was kind of all over the place, which I loved. In the moment, I loved it and I wanted to go full force. I was so motivated. But in the long run, it's just not healthy. I had so much trouble setting personal and work boundaries. I had a really hard time balancing work and the thesis because I also had rent to pay and food to be able to afford. All these things kind of started to pile up and I was starting to lose motivation for anything. I noticed that I was feeling really lazy and I thought, oh, I just need vacation. That's probably it. I was just kind of looking forward to having vacation and to have some rest, recharge, and go again. I left that youth worker job and got a job somewhere else that I really wanted to work at. An opportunity came by and I went for it. 2 months into my new job, I went on sick leave and never came back. So what I started noticing was there were just a lot of stressors in my life, and also me naturally being sensitive and wanting to please people and wanting to do all these things, being so passionate and also a perfectionist, that really just didn't go together very well because I would put so much pressure on myself, and by putting all that more pressure on myself, everything started to fall apart even more. I really had a sense that I had no grip on anything anymore and I was letting everyone down. I remember the student I was working with, I felt so guilty all the time because I just wasn't coming across the way I wanted to come across, and I just wasn't functioning the way I wanted to function, you know? I started getting migraines 2 times a week. That's something that I've always had, ocular migraines I get, but they started happening so frequently that I was kind of starting to plan my life around it, all the while I was also still dealing with all the nausea issues and the busy social life. I think you get the idea. One time I just didn't have my period for 2 months, and that's kind of, I know that it should have happened a lot sooner. I don't want to hear it. I'm working on that, but that's when I really started thinking, oh, something is very wrong because I'm not getting my period, and that's severe stress, which, you know, God. I notice that I'm trying to tell this story as factually as I can, but a lot of emotions are popping up because I still feel really sad for not noticing sooner. I ignored my body for very long. It was really screaming to me and I ignored it so hard. Also, everyone in my surroundings was very busy and doing their own thing and also being very go, go, go. So I was in an environment where I felt like what I was doing was really normal and just part of it all, you know. I'm a student, I'm super busy, a lot of pressure, but it's temporary. But there was just too much pressure. So in December, I started talking to a good friend of mine who had been overworked and had been at home for a while. I got a little bit sad and scared because I recognized so much of myself in him because he was talking about how emotional he was and how unmotivated and tired, and on top of all those physical symptoms and feeling so lazy and so guilty, and I was crying all the time over everything. And it's not very helpful that, you know, when a woman cries a lot, it's like, oh, you're just being dramatic, you're just a woman. No, I mean, yes, but you know. So after that talk with my friend, I set myself down and thought, okay, what am I going to do? I need some rest. So I temporarily moved back home to my parents because I thought I need some distance from the city. I need to be in the countryside, have some peace, and then I'll be fine. I went to my work, my relatively new job at that point, and I said, hey, I would like maybe a week of sick leave or something because I'm just not feeling good and I need some time to process things. I think I'm a little bit overworked. So we decided to do that. Yeah, then I just kind of never returned because after Christmas, I decided I would move back home because I was finishing up college anyway and I would have to leave my student home. So I was being very rational about it, thinking, oh, I should just leave, it'll be fine. It'll have to happen eventually, I'm here now, whatever. So I was already really overworked, but then I also moved. So on New Year's Day, I picked up all my last stuff. And that's also the last time I've been in the city and have seen most of my roommates and my friends who live there. Because middle of January, I handed in my thesis. The next day, I couldn't get out of bed. And I stayed in bed for a solid 2 weeks. And I was burnt out. I was kind of bedridden like a sick Victorian child. I came out of bed to eat, to pee, and to go for a walk around the block, but even in the beginning, I would only go out to sit in my backyard. I wore earplugs or headphones pretty much all the time. Everything was too loud, too fast, and just made me feel awful. I could read a little bit at that time, and I watched a lot of ASMR videos because that was the only content I could really consume without it going too fast. So that was a great help, luckily. However, because I was labeled as overworked, still, I tried to force myself so hard to still do things. So even in those times where I was in bed pretty much all the time, I would still go to the gym in the morning, and then the rest of the day it would be over with. I'll get into that more later, but yeah, it was a tough time. I want to be somewhat structured in the way I'm speaking because otherwise I'll ramble too much, so I tried to organize everything, but most of these things I felt combined with other of the things I mentioned, and it really went all kinds of directions. If you take a graph, the process kind of looks like this. It's not linear at all, and that can be really rough. So I'm gonna try to take you through it as best as I can. I also keep feeling like I'm missing all these other important aspects, but I do think that this sums it up. But because there's so much happening in me all this time, I feel like I'll never be able to properly translate what I've been through, but I don't have to, and I have to keep reminding myself of that. So let's go. First thing I want to talk about is fatigue, which is one of the biggest things that I've felt and still feel to this day. When I talk about fatigue, I don't mean, oh, I'm tired, I just need a nap and then I'll be better. For me, fatigue really feels awful. I get a ringing in my ear, my body starts throbbing, my vision got really blurry in the beginning. Everything just feels too loud and gives me this really intense reaction. I genuinely feel like I can't keep my eyes open. You know how your eyes burn when you come out of the water or something like that? It just feels like that all the time then. And for me, the difference between fatigue and just being tired is that when I take a nap then, I don't wake up feeling any better. It's just still there. I still deal with that pretty much every day, but it's a lot less than it was in the beginning, which even feels bizarre to say because I thought it would just never go away. It still comes in waves, like everything, but it's less than it was in the beginning. Then restlessness. This is a big one as well. I like to refer to it as the treadmill phase. I'm a very metaphoric person, so you might know that feeling if you've been on a treadmill and you stop running, it still feels like you're running, like your whole body still feels like that. That's kind of how it felt to get into this, because my body was still, but my mind was still moving. You might even recognize this when you try to fall asleep at night. When your body physically comes to stillness, your mind immediately starts to speed up. That happened so intensely for me. I was overthinking every single aspect of my being. I was very anxious and overstimulated, like I said. I woke up at 5 a.m. every morning. I woke up every hour. I still have nights like that sometimes. When I was awake, and I also had a really hard time in the beginning taking naps and giving my body the break. And like I said, I went to the gym all the time. I just had to move. There was so much still in me that needed to get out, so the gym felt phenomenal, but it was just too much. And because I was labeled as overworked, when you're labeled as overworked, they advise you to keep your life kind of going, to still do the activities that you like to do. While when you're going through burnout, it's very much advised to just do nothing for a bit. You can exercise, but really feeling your body and what it needs. So it's more recommended often, from what I hear, to go for a walk or do yoga, which is the things that I do now. But I went full on to the gym. I went 4 times a week or something. I was lifting weights and doing everything and getting ripped, but it would just wipe me out and I didn't even notice it, because that's how hard I was still ignoring my body. So that restlessness also translates in everyday tasks, like I have to finish certain tasks, and there are just things that I can't do because of my fatigue. So midway through unpacking a dishwasher, I might have to lay down. And that was something that I really couldn't do in the beginning. And that was really hard. And it's that restlessness where if I would lay down, I would think of a million other things that I still needed to do. Then the physical pains. From what I hear, it's pretty common in a burnout to get strange physical symptoms as well due to stress. So my skin was really bad. Like I said, I got a lot of migraines. I also had inflamed gums on and off, which was strange. I'm reading off my screen a little bit because I have a hard time remembering. But you can get inflammations and rashes and all that kind of stuff because it's your body needing to get all the stress out. At the end of February, I got a 12-day migraine, of which I spent 7 days in the dark. The worst pain I genuinely have ever felt in my life. I felt really, really bad. I could not stand any daylight. I barely ate anything. Everything would just send a rush of pain and very strange symptoms through my body, which if you've had a migraine, you'll probably recognize some of that. Took a lot of painkillers at that time, living off of rice cakes. But I also got a lot of massages and went to a physical therapist, which was really nice. That really made everyone also realize, like, oh, I'm not overworked, this is a burnout, and time to change things up. So physical symptoms that I also experienced are just a lot of headaches. I still get migraines pretty regularly, but they are a lot less than they used to be. So yeah, that's like the physical pain aspect of it all. And then there's the numbness. The first few months are really a blur to me. That's why I feel very confused talking about all of this, because I find it hard to categorize and to see what happened when. So some of what I'm saying might not be entirely true because I just don't remember. But it was really just the color gray. That's how I would describe it. I felt desperate in a way that I've never felt desperate before, and I couldn't believe that this is how I felt, and most of all, I just couldn't see it ever getting any better. I just wanted it to go away and I didn't know how, and I'm going to be talking about a few heavy topics right now. So if you're not in the right headspace for that, please click to the next section or click off, but I want to be as open as I can be. I really didn't want to live. And I don't mean that I wanted to die or was having active suicidal thoughts. I wasn't, but I just kept feeling like I would just love to be asleep until May. Just sleeping till May. Wonderful. Wake me up then. So I didn't want to have to experience it. I didn't want to be in my body at that point. I really didn't. And that was really scary. Even my family said it, like the light behind my eyes was just gone. And yeah, that was intense. I isolated a lot. When my parents talked to me, all I could just do was stare into the distance, and I really remember that very well because they would talk to me or say things and I would just really, really be zoned out. I didn't like reaching out to friends when they call me. I didn't like answering. I'm really bad at responding and reaching out in general, but that was especially bad. It feels really weird to say all this because even in that time I had good days, and it's also the month where I started my ASMR channel. That has brought me so much life energy again and made me feel that sense of purpose that I was just missing while I was sitting here being miserable and thinking over everything. And being able to connect with people dealing with the same stuff or similar things, and to be able to share my journey with others was so rewarding. And it's kind of ironic starting a relaxation channel while dealing with severe stress, because if you don't know what ASMR is, it's a YouTube genre focused on relaxation. I think that really displays the duality of it all, because I was going through the worst thing, but I also did the best thing I could possibly think of. And like I said, I believe so much in the power of vulnerability and sharing and being brave, and it felt just really rewarding to be able to do that even in those times. Now I'm getting messages literally every day, and it's not like I have a platform of millions, but I get messages every day of people saying, hey, I don't normally reach out to content creators, whatever, but I just wanted to share. And you sharing that with me means the world to me, to know that you're sharing it with someone and you're healing and doing the work. You know, I don't know, it's just such a powerful thing. And to have people from all over the world share those things is, very powerful to me and has given me a lot of life. Now on to grief. There's a lot of grief involved in all of this, and I grieved and still grieve so much. If we take Brené Brown, who is a social worker and researcher, she's also the author of Atlas of the Heart, which goes through all the various emotions that humans have. She describes grief as the loss of something or someone, and for me it's the loss over something, which is the idea of what I thought my life would look like. Especially in the moments where I feel good, it sometimes feels like I get to have this taste of what my life could look like, and then it's being taken away from me because all the other symptoms start to flare up again. And for me, the picture I had in my head is of the concerts that I would have been able to attend, the festivals that I missed, holidays I had to cancel, dates I don't get to go on, nights with friends on the couch that are happening without me now, and the shoulder that I can't offer my friends now, but I want to. And I am allowed to grieve all those things. And when I started really labeling it as grief, it made a whole lot more sense to me, because it was those emotions of the pure and raw sadness of it, and also seeing the beauty in it from the memories that I do have of the moments where I could enjoy those things. And then also there's the hope that I'll feel those things again, but it's the not now. There's this book, Siddhartha, that I read by Hermann Hesse, and it's absolutely beautiful. And he said something about he had a difficult relationship with his son, and his son left him. And this is very loosely what he said, but it was something along the lines of, I know that this is a wound that will heal and that will not fester in me, but that will recover and be whole again. But because that's not happening right now, I'm sad right now, and that's kind of how it feels. Like I know that it'll get better and it'll pass, but I'm feeling this way right now. So I'm just gonna sit with it and feel it and grieve it. And that has been really helpful, but it's such a strange sensation, and it's so hard. But there's also a lot of hope and trust and patience and love, and I've learned so much. In the good moments, I can actually see that this is one of the most powerful and, in that sense, good things to have happened to me. The amount that I'm learning about myself as a person, who I want to be in the world, what I want to do, how I show up for myself and for others, what really matters to me, you know, those are lessons that I'll take with me my whole life, and I'll also be learning about my whole life, for which I'm grateful. There's so much trauma coming up as well, things that I haven't resolved in my past, and that's awful, but also really insightful. As I'm working through that, I'm also becoming more confident, and I would not have had the confidence to show up online like this. I would be so worried about being cringe and how it was being perceived and being too much and too loud. And as I'm working through all those things and how I've conditioned myself and how I've been conditioned, you know, society and stuff, I don't know, I get to tune into myself a lot more. I'm really grateful for that. Also, hearing from young women who are further along in their process is really inspiring and making me feel very hopeful, you know, that hearing them talk about, I did not see this ever getting any better, and now I'm feeling better, and I'm like, whoa, can't imagine I felt like that. It's crazy. That's so inspiring and motivating to me. I'm also really grateful for the life that I get to live. I am beyond grateful for my co-workers, my friends, and most of all my family, because I really got to let myself fall into their arms and care. I feel very held and very lucky, and it's a really strange thing to currently live differently than my peers do, and to have lived on your own and then move back home with family. But it's also the last time in my life probably that I'll get to have this experience and live with my family the way that we do. So I'm trying to really enjoy those moments too. So, you know, like I said, there's a lot of duality. On the one hand, it's the worst thing and it's awful, and I'll show some clips of what I can feel like on a bad day because I'm not translating that fully right now. Hey, I feel a little bit depressed. I don't know how long I can do this anymore. I don't have a choice. So, I mean, I'm gonna continue. But it feels like I can't do this anymore. I want to wake up tomorrow and I want everything to be normal. And I'm fucking sick of it. I caught myself like smiling in the mirror like, okay, I'm just gonna do my thing. And then I was like, fuck that. It's just not how I'm feeling right now, so fuck that. And that kind of helps. It's just not gonna be over anytime soon. Because that's not how things work. I keep getting all these Snapchat memories and seeing my I deleted my Be Real because I kept on getting so many pictures of my friends. I don't want to come across as some whiny baby being like, I want to hang out with my friends, but I haven't been there in 7 months. And I don't know why I'm being so defensive about it, because I get to feel how I feel. And you're not arguing with me. If you want to trade brains, like for a day or something, just DM me, okay? I would love that. But then there's also the good and the hopeful and the incredibly confident and full of life part of me, you know? So it's the duality of it all. Okay, I didn't mention feelings like anxiety or guilt, but I feel like I've kind of talked enough for now, so I'm gonna leave it at that. I thought I would tell you a little bit about how I'm doing now. We're 8 months in, it's now mid-August, and I started filming this video the beginning of July. And I think that does go to show you how up and down it really is, because I figured that I would have put out this video by now. I spent most of July in bed. I was really tired, but now suddenly I have energy again, so I'm trying to make the best of that. I wrote down what I wanted to say for this video when I wanted to film it in July, so I'm gonna read to you what I wrote for myself. Said, well, I'm still very tired and grieving and sad, but also happy to have creative outlets and therapy and my little routines and rituals that keep me grounded. This will be a forever journey, of course, but I gained so many tools to work through anxiety, and I have so much more healthy coping mechanisms. I'm sorry, there are a lot of wasps outside. When I hang out with people or I see people, I still get really anxious. I get very nervous, my body starts throbbing, I get shaky, even if it's someone I've known for a long time or I'm comfortable with. I will say that it's getting a lot less than it was, which is really nice. So I'm slowly starting to feel more comfortable, and I'm trying to push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit with that. I find it really hard to balance having the energy or being anxious about seeing someone, and also one thought I often have is, oh, if I do this, then the rest of my day will look like this, so maybe I shouldn't do this. And that's really difficult to manage. One thing that really helped me recently is to stop fighting it. I had this very big urge to fight everything. I'm surrendering a lot more, and that's something I found really difficult, and it makes it a lot easier. I think that I've been a lot kinder to myself, and I've been listening to myself a lot more, and I can hear myself clearly now, and that's something I haven't been able to do in a really, really long time. It's just such a crazy experience and a life-changing experience in the best and the worst way, and I know it's so cliche. So I'm trying to take things day by day and to be in the moment as much as I can be. So I'm feeling good now, so I'm filming now, and then I'll recover. So I wanted to give some advice and stuff, but I feel like there's so much ground to cover with that I'm not really comfortable doing that directly. But what I can say is that if you do a task, take the time to recover from the task, even if it's small. Even if you've read a book, go lay down for a bit after that. If you've unloaded the dishwasher, sit down after that, doing nothing. Doing nothing, I found really hard to grasp. I still do, because even when someone says, oh yeah, I'm just doing nothing, I'm like, but what are you doing? Because you're Netflixing, scrolling. So for me, doing nothing is laying down in bed and doing a guided meditation, or just laying down and letting my mind wander, or not wander at all and focus on my breath, so having mindful moments. So I'll either do that or I'll watch some ASMR or something to unwind from the task I did, and that's really helpful, even the smallest things. And what I'm noticing now is that as I'm gaining more energy, I'm also gaining more energy from doing the things that I love, and it's sustaining me. And that's such a weird experience, because even though I loved doing a lot of things in the beginning, the way that it would bring me energy felt really different to the way that it does now. And yeah, that's just kind of the phase I'm in now, I guess. Also, I will say I'm a spiritual person, and getting more in touch with that again after a long time of not paying attention to it and being aware has been really helpful too, and just, listening deeply to myself. But for you, I want to thank you for spending this time with me and choosing to watch this video. I would love to keep the conversation going, so if you have any topics you'd like me to talk about more, just leave a comment. I'm just trying to be a friend and share the experience in the way that it has helped me so much to hear experiences. And second of all, and I think most important, I wish for you that you have access to a therapist or a doctor. I wish that you click with them, and if you don't, find another one that you match with and keep looking until you find one. I hope that in your surroundings you have someone you can talk to and lay your heart out. I hope that you have hobbies that keep you afloat. I hope that you'll try things. Just try things out. I think I've tried about 16 new activities or hobbies just to find inspiration and keep myself grounded and going. I hope you do things that you liked as a kid and reconnect with that. I hope you have someone who can cook dishes for you sometimes. I hope that you have someone who'll unload a dishwasher for you when you just can't do it. That's also advice for if you have a friend with burnout. If you visit them, help them with something. It's when you go visit someone who just had a baby, you help them a little bit with the kitchen. Maybe you can bring some groceries. I would advise the same for if you have a friend with burnout. I live with my family, so it's not a problem, but for others it might be. I hope that you take naps when you need it. I hope that you don't fight it anymore when you're tired, and listen to your body. And I hope that you are being kind to yourself, and that you remember that you deserve to take up space and set your boundaries, speak your boundaries. And I hope that you see the silver linings and that you take your time, because it will get better. And we got this. You're not alone. Okay, bye.